Okay, before we get into the takeoff of the 3D model, I just want to share with you some of the features that 3D, 3D BIM model will offer you that the 2D doesn't. To give you a good example, let's say I click on the element, which here is the concrete roof slab. If I click on the element, all the data that it has any relevance to the property of that model, that element, is now listed. In particular, it's only the quantities that appear within this common link element dropdown, right? Alternatively, I can open up what we call the design tree in our toolbox tool ribbon, which is up in the Windows ribbon. Here you have the design tree. Every element to do with that roof, the data that you're looking at is now represented here. Everything from the areas, including the materials, the class, anything to do with, let's say, even with thermal mass, the slope, the thickness. And this is quite key. In this case, the thickness shows 245 mils thick. Remember, if your build description has a different thickness, then you're either going to follow the data that's given to you by the architect or the structural engineer. But it's important that you make sure that your build descriptions align with the data that's given to you by the architect or the engineer. So that is important. Again, your family type is called basic roof. We spoke about that when we looked at the 3D model of the pump. Depending on what properties there are, the properties may differ depending on the design. So it's very important to dive deep into understanding how the model properties were given to you, and you just don't assume that the quantities are the same as what the bill of quantities has been given. So check your descriptions against the data, which would be your length, your breadth, your width, your heights. Make sure that they do align with the bill descriptions. Okay, so for this particular exercise, before we look at that, I just want to make a note also that if I wanted to only look at this element, I can use all the features by right-clicking on the element in this BIM CT viewer. I can then say hide selected element or hide other elements. So if I hide the other elements, it's only the roof that would be visible to me. Right-click again, I can then say show all 3D elements. Let's say for this argument, I want to actually hide the landscape. So now I can just look at my model. Okay, so for this exercise, I think let's only do the quantities for the brick block work on this building. Again, I can go to my bill of quantities, scroll down to block or brickwork superstructure. And in this case, it's either a cavity wall or a one brick wall. So let's say we're going to measure cavity walls, which are 40 mils thick. Now, if I click on the wall of the building and I look at the elements, it tells me that it is a basic wall that's 230 mils thick, right? Now, in this case, the description says the cavity walls are 40 millimeter with a cavity. So you always got to check that your areas are the same and that your build descriptions are the same. Now, instead of measuring each wall separately, like we would do on a 2D drawing, the BIM model data gives me the option. So when I right click on this element, I can say show selected visible elements. And these properties all come out of the Revit model or the IFC model. So I can choose generic 230 mil walls, or I can choose all walls. So let's just see what 230 mil walls are in this building. The whole building is structurally made from 230 mil walls. I can right click and say hide other elements. Now I'm looking at all the walls in this structure. So I can then go down and I can see, right, there is, okay, 116 cubes, but we don't need cubes. We're looking for the, interesting, the gross area is 34 square meters, right? But the side gross area, remember I get side net area and side gross area. I'll show you another little trick with that 2. Remember, your gross area is one side. So if you're doing painting or plastering to external and your facades are different internally from external, you only want the side net area. But if I want all sides, okay, for painting purposes, I would select 1000 squares. In this case, I'm doing the block work only. So I'll click on 500 square meters and drag that into my cavity wall. And I now have 500 squares. So the reason it's not displaying in the quantity column is because I have not put a 1. It's only one building that I'm measuring. And this, let's say, for argument's sake, we can call this C3. It's the build item. There. Now, if at any point the model changed and there was a design model update, I don't delete the model. I go to my add design files and I update the design file. So in this case, I select the 3D model that we have here. Okay. And if there was another model that I would choose from to show you revision, it would appear here. Red is what's been removed, green is added, and you'll have a workflow design link showing you what the changes are. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to go back. Okay, so that's typically how we would measure block work. So if I right click again and I say show all 3D elements, everything comes back. And the reason it's still highlighted is because my cell is still clicked on the cell. If I remove, click on another cell, it will take it away. If I wanted to measure using that same measurement, I can just refer back to that cell and go to the area. And let's say I want to choose something else, such as plaster. I can click on that and I can go down to my plaster items. That's in the bill. External soffits, there's plaster to external walls. Okay, this is external walls. Let's say the bill item was plaster to all walls. I can either remeasure by clicking on the element, or I can simply just go to that bill item, click on it, scroll down back to plaster and screed, click on the element, drop down menu, and click and drag that quantity directly into plastered walls. Again, it's not appearing in the quantities because I have to put a 1, because we're only measuring one house. If there were 2 houses with the exact same quantity and we were building a development, I would select 2 and the quantity will double. All right, typical quantity dim sheet. So for this case, let's just move it back to 1. Right. So there was a brief summary on how we do quantity takeoff with 3D models. I hope this lesson has been valuable. Before I close, I just want to share with you again, with the pick and measure, you've got pick faces. I can pick one face and ask it again, right click and say, again, show me other elements. That won't do it, unfortunately, sorry. I can hold the control key down and click all the other wall elements. I can scroll around. Oops. And that again will tell me the square meterage of the face of the building. Holding my control key down, I've now selected all those. Again, I can hide other elements and I can see all the walls that I've selected. That is faces. Again, lines work in a similar manner. Show all 3D. I can click on a line and just click on the edge of the roof, and it will automatically tell me that the length of that roof is 19 meters long. So that's what these 3 elements here for. Picking elements is picking the entire element, right? And that would show you your element. Right click and there's all the information regarding the flat rooftop. Right, so in summary, I think we've dealt with everything just briefly that's related to a quick measurement of how we use 2D and 3D models.